Good afternoon, everybody. I am Tony Parrott. I'm the Executive Director at the Metropolitan Sewer District, and I want to welcome you to the groundbreaking for the MSD Waterway Protection Tunnel. I want to thank you for allowing us to change the date of this groundbreaking. As you know, last week, about a week ago, was about 10 below zero wind chill, and so we decided to move it to today. So I think the weather is cooperating with us, and we're glad you're here with us. Today we're here to break ground on an innovative project that will make a difference in the health and well-being of our community. We are here at the site where there will be the entrance point, shaft to a deep tunnel project, which will be about 200 feet below ground. This project will also have a very huge pump station, which will be located on this site. And the tunnel project is a part of our ongoing work for our federal consent decree, which we've been doing over the last 10 years or so. The Waterway Protection Tunnel will head east from here, then southeast to the area known as the Home of the Innocents on East Main Street. The tunnel will be about 2.5 miles long, about 20 feet in diameter, and it will allow us to capture approximately 22 individual combined sewer overflows along the route that currently flow into the South Fork of Beargrass Creek and the Ohio River. So with this project, we will be able to keep out approximately 350 million gallons of combined sewer overflow into local waterways. So it's going to result in a cleaner, safer environment for our city and our community. You know, when we first began planning this project, originally we were going to do 3 huge CSO basins as a part of our consent decree. And because of the lessons that we learned with our interface with the Logan Street Basin and the Smoketown neighborhood group over there, we had an opportunity to go out and try to figure during the planning process how this was going to impact stakeholders. So I'm going to tell you a quick story. The first stakeholder that we sit down with was Mary Ellen Wiederwall, and we told her that we were going to do this huge basin project here at this site, and then we're going to run a micro tunnel up Main Street between 13th and about 4th Street, which was going to disrupt Main Street for about 2 years. And she was in our office, and she turned real pale. And I said, either she's getting sick or, she doesn't like what I just told her. So I grabbed the garbage can, and I gave it to her, and she said, we got to talk about that tunnel, micro tunnel coming up Main Street. So I got the sense that we probably needed to take note and do something different. Meanwhile, we also interface with the group that is responsible for the Waterfront Park development and oversight. And we had numerous meetings with David Karam and his team, and got a lot of interesting feedback on what they desired in terms of what we were doing at this site. The third stakeholder we met with was an individual that I had never met before, but his site is located in Butchertown, and it smells like brandy. And we went up and we met with Mr. Joe Heron up at Copper and Kings and a lot of folks from the Butchertown Neighborhood Association, and we explained to them we were going to do this huge CSO basin right across from Copper and Kings. And I'll let Joe tell you what he told me when I told him that. But the fact is that we went out and we listened to stakeholders before we actually finalized the design of the project, and we listened to the community. And the things that we heard basically is that we're concerned about the disruptions in the downtown business district on Main Street, the post-project aesthetics here adjacent to the Waterfront Park needed to have some collaboration and some design input, and that obviously there was a lot of heartburn about having a huge above-ground basin up at Main and Story. So that is why we're so happy to have our stakeholders here today, because they help shape the design that we're going to be moving forward on with this project. we got together with our MSD engineering group and our operations group, and we said, let's take a look at a different alternative, an alternative which was the deep tunnel project. 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, when deep tunnels came to our industry, a lot has changed in terms of the innovation and the boring and, of course, the ultimate cost of doing deep tunnels. And so we started looking at the deep tunnel process again, and what we found is that we could do a deep tunnel project and eliminate the 3 large combined sewer overflow basins that were programmed in that would lead us to being able to do the project for the same cost, for the same milestone in terms of time frame. We would actually end up having more capacity and storage, and it would be less disruption to the community and the downtown business district and the folks in Butchertown and also the Irish Hills residential community, and less impact on area traffic. So I went to the board. Our MSD board member, board chair, Cindy Cottle's here with us today, and I said we want to alter the consent decree project and make it a deep tunnel project. We think we can get it all done for the same cost as originally programmed in, and our board unanimously approved us moving forward with the deep tunnel project. So over the last 2 years, we've been working collaboratively with the stakeholders, coming up with the design, particularly working closely with our Waterfront Park partners to ensure that the pump station here and the residual property that is located or that will be remaining after we're done will fit into the future of the Waterfront Park Phase 4 and the expansion thereof. And so the Waterfront Park, as you know, is the jewel of our city. So what we have now is a major consent decree project that will be able to meet the same milestone of being done by 2020. And with all the previous work that we've done in our consent decree project, we will be able to say that we've made not only a difference here with this project, but all the projects in capturing about 98% of the combined sewer overflow that is currently being discharged into local waterways. So what happens from here is basically we're going to break ground today. There's a deep tunnel shaft that we will start digging, and then of course we'll start working on getting ready for the pump station. Currently the bore head for the tunnel is being built, and it will be delivered here later this year, and we will receive it probably around September. And then that bore head will start work around October and bore its way up to the east for 2.5 miles and be done by 2020. So this is going to begin a process where we're not only starting today, but we're going to be interfacing and communicating, because this is an opportunity for us to educate folks on the tunneling technology as well. Being able to reduce overflows into our system, and doing it collaboratively with our partners, and making sure that we're sustaining the environment and the waterways that are so close. And of course, sustainability and reliability is a platform for the 100 Resilient Cities, which is being led by our mayor, Greg Fisher. And we're so happy that we have Mayor Fisher with us here today to allow us to break ground, and we'd like to invite him up to make some comments.
Thanks, Tony. Well, there's a lot of visible progress going on in the community right now. $12.5 billion of construction either underway or announced. And then there's this project, major, cool project, deep tunnel, 2.5 miles that people aren't going to see. But it's going to give tremendous impact and benefits to our community in terms of clean water, in terms of an improved environment, all the types of things that are very, very critical for us to continue to grow as a city, and that these visible projects, the expanded convention center and all the new hotels, our businesses are relying on to both keep people happy that are here, but attract people to the city as well. So to have a more innovative, cleaner, safer solution that has come from all the community input sessions that, Tony, that you had, and Mary Ellen, that you helped kind of put an exclamation point on, because I remember when she came into my office and said, do you know that Main Street is proposed to be affected for 2 years and maybe closed down? And I said, well, not really. Tell me a little more about that. And that was just a matter of days before your team said, look, this was on a drawing board a while past, but this is not adequate. So I really want to say good job to Chair Caudle and the MSD board. Tony, you and your team at MSD, everybody, all of our contractors that are here as well, saying we can do better for the citizens of Louisville, and we can do it in a more innovative way. This project, I think, Angela, will be one that engineers from all over the world will be watching, right? This will be very similar to the engineering awards that the water company received when we had the major project upstream as well. So I think it's really good for people to see the type of innovation, engineering innovation that's going on in our city as well. I want to also say good job for kind of the One Water collaboration that's taken place here. The water company does have experience tunneling, more experience than MSD does. I believe that's fair to say. So for One Water and MSD to work together with our engineering teams like this to kind of scope the project, assess the project, I think is what our citizens expect and appreciate. And so last, I would just like to say this is good government. Okay, it's our organizations listening to our customers, our citizens, listening to the environmental needs that we have, and then coming together with a tremendous partnership, not just for this really amazing engineering solution, but then after that's done, for this piece of property here will be turned over to the public as an amazing expansion of Waterfront Park. So when our citizens look at this and say innovation, efficiency, using the money of our people twice and then repurposing it for great public use to join one of the great park systems in the world, that's a good day for our city. So I just want to say thank you to everybody that's been part of this and for being really here at the beginning of what will become a great national success story. Good job.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. One of the first things that I briefed Councilmember Sexton Smith on when she first joined Metro Council last year, amongst other things, was the fact that we were doing this amazing project. And she, as you know, is someone who doesn't show a whole lot of emotion. But for this one, she really got excited. So I invited her today to make some comments.
Thank you, Tony. Yes. Tony leaned in and said, that was a joke. Maybe we didn't laugh loud enough for your joke, so give Tony a big round of applause. All right, well, Tony and Mayor Fisher and everyone here, welcome to the confluence of Metro Council District 4 and Metro Council District 5. 4 plus 5 equals 9, which leads me right over to Councilman Bill Hollander. So welcome, Sherry Bryan Hamilton and Councilman Bill Hollander. The three of us have worked on many projects together, and we are glad to be doing so on this particular project. As I think about what we have here today, what we're standing on today, and what she shall become, is an amazing confluence of an intersection of what happens when you have a very serious problem. That being our underlying infrastructure. Number one responsibility in my mind of what we all do together as elected officials is to make sure that the foundation and the ground on which we stand that serves our health and our public safety is as strong as it can be. Well, thanks to that intersection where the problem is coming across, we've got a traffic director in Tony Parrott and in Cindy Caudell leading the board at Metropolitan Sewer District, that in comes the answer. Today is another great example of what great leadership, great vision, great strategic planning, that you can measure, you can see it, and you can count on it. When it comes together, we're going to have a national and an internationally renowned water protection system right here. All right? We call it the Ohio River Tunnel. There's a lot of people on this journey that are paying a lot of attention to this. This, too, is another great example of why I'm going to ask everyone to join me and several other people in supporting the work of MSD, supporting their vision today, and supporting the vision that comes before us as we think about the critical repair and reinvestment plan. This is a good example of why MSD is a good investment, so I'm asking that you join me and invest in the great leadership. And Tony, job well done. Team, all the engineers, all the staff, all the vendors, I see many of you here today. Thank you so much for all the work that you do every day. Thank you.
As Barbara said, this is a confluence of various council districts, and we've got another big project going on down in the Shawnee Basin, in the Shawnee Park area, and we've had an opportunity to interface a lot with Council Member Sherry Brand Hamilton, who has seen some of our work firsthand in her district. And so she can probably give you some insight that we usually try to follow through with what we say we're going to do. So I'd like to ask her to come and make a few comments.
Thank you, Tony, and good afternoon, everyone. When Tony talked about community input, I can verify that because we have that CSO basin under construction in Shawnee Park. We've got the basin under construction in Lannon Park. And now this one, this tunnel, is important to me, especially because it's going to help us build Waterfront Park Phase 4. We started those discussions several years ago, and it was, well, we need these 22 acres, and how are we going to acquire the acres? And we started on that project before we knew the need for this tunnel, this 2.5 miles. So without MSD's vision and the need in the community, we wouldn't be able to go forth with that project. So knowing that this is going to go until 2020, that gives us some time, Mayor Fisher, to raise some funds, because we do want to complete that project. And we thank you, Tony, and we thank all of you, and we look forward to what's going to become in the future. Thank you.
When you add District 4 to District 5, you get District 9. And I know that Councilmember Bill Hollander is also someone who's very excited and interested in this project, because as we tunnel to the east, we're going to be tunneling right through his district. So I'd like to ask him to come make some comments.
Thank you, Tony. Beargrass Creek runs through District 9 and it enters the Ohio River in the district. We've seen combined sewer overflows and the outlets for those overflows, and we've seen the effects they have on Beargrass Creek and on the river. In addition to the sewage that comes out from those overflows, after a heavy rain, the creek is filled with all manner of debris and litter that flows from our streets and gutters into the system and into the creek. Because of its location, District 9 was going to be the site of 3 CSO basins, with a 4th at Story in Maine, just blocks outside the district. 2 are still under construction, but the tunnel replaces 2 of those planned basins, along with 1 in West Louisville. Having lived with street closures on Melwood and on Frankfort Avenue right now, and all manner of work associated with the basins, we are grateful that this project will be less disruptive to neighbors and traffic than those basin projects. We're mostly grateful, though, for the major improvement these projects will have on Beargrass Creek and on the Ohio River. A clean Beargrass Creek can be a great asset to this community, and this project will help that happen. As a church on Story Avenue put it on its sign a few months ago as work was going on Story, yes, road work is irritating, but be thankful for clean water, and we certainly are. Thank you.
We, as we said, we're doing a lot of work with a stakeholder at Waterfront Park, David Karam, who's been involved with a lot of those discussions over the last couple of years. But we're happy to have with us today, I guess, the new Deputy Director of the Louisville Waterfront Park, Ms. Deborah Belitsky.
Thank you. And I know David wanted to be here and was unable to, was planning to be here last week. And by the way, thank you for moving this to today. I think we all thank you for doing that. Good afternoon. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today on behalf of Waterfront Development Corporation as we celebrate MSD's start of this tunnel project, which also signifies the start of Waterfront Park Phase 4. Thank you to Mayor Fisher and to his administration, also to Metro Council, and to our partners and friends at MSD, Tony, Angela, Brian, Greg, Jacob, all who have worked collaboratively to take this first step toward bringing Waterfront Park Phase 4 from a concept to reality. We especially appreciate the time and attention that MSD has given to designing the building that will be constructed here as part of this project to ensure that it's going to be an asset to a visual asset to the overall park's landscape. That's very important. Through our partnership, not only will this project improve the health of our environment and of our residents, but it will ultimately see this property, hard to believe right now, transformed into a beautiful 22-acre extension of Waterfront Park with recreational amenities for everyone to enjoy. It's a true win-win for our community. Thank you.
As I mentioned before, the other stakeholder that we interface with up at Butchertown, I really like going out there because of the smell of the brandy. But we got some interesting feedback as we used to go out and meet with Joe Herron and the Butchertown group. And so I wanted Joe to come and share his side of the story.
I don't think I'm allowed to say what I said to Tony on TV when I first met him. You know, we should be a lot more excited about this project than what we are. This is a big deal. This is not only a vision of where we are today and what we want to be, but it's a physical manifestation of the big thinking that makes for world-class cities. And the physiology that sits under the skin of a city is not very sexy. It's not the stuff that people talk about, but it's actually perhaps even more important than convention centers and hotels and brandy distilleries. The smell that he's referring to might not have been brandy. It might have been what used to happen next door at Swift, and it doesn't happen anymore. My interaction is what I really wanted to talk about. I met with Tony and Angela, and this is what also makes for a great city. It's a city that engages with all its constituents, with the people that live here, because the city's made up of the people that live in it. It's not made up of the people that do projects in it. It's made up of human beings that don't like the smell in Butchertown and don't like a giant shit tank sitting behind their building. That's not what it's about. And a city that engages with its community makes for good government. And this city is very good at engaging with its communities now. And Tony, you were great. Angela, you were great. I know you thought my language was awful, but I just brought up Bradley in South Africa, and that's where it is. But it actually was enjoyable because I think all of the Butchertown neighborhood felt involved and engaged and listened to. And I think when you look at what's happening in Butchertown and with the stadium and with the stadium development, that wouldn't have happened if we had a big basin sitting there, okay? And look what happened. So one step begets the next step, gets the big step. And big ideas tend to happen with, stuff that's more nitty-gritty than what people realize. And I think the guys everyone at MSD, we should embrace this as an asset. We should start talking about MSD as a community asset that does big things that are important for the 21st century city, not the 1920th century city. We're talking about fixing sewers and complaining. Let's stop with this. Let's stop kicking the can down the road, and let's start thinking bigger, because we're a big idea city. But big ideas are worthless unless you do shit. Excuse the pun. So we do stuff. This is a city that does stuff, and I want to tell you, it was, and I'm sincere about this, a pleasure working with Tony and Ange and everybody, and Mayor Fisher, Barbara, keep championing on. We need people that tell hard truths, because if you don't face the truth, you live in a dream world, and dream worlds are fantasy. They're not real. They tend to be lack substance, and this is a substantive, important, big idea that's actually being executed. So to our world-class city, it's awesome. Thank you.
This project, when all said and done, including all of the pump station work, the interceptor sewers that we're going to be running to pick up the CSOs, collectively is about a $200 million investment in Louisville. And so it's an investment from our perspective that we have taken the time to bring in the right partners to discuss what project was appropriate. I do want to recognize the design firm that worked with us on the tunnel project, Black & Veatch, is with us today, and also the contractors that bid on the project, Shea Trailer, joint venture that's going to be leading us through this over the next couple of years. So we welcome you as stakeholders and partners on this project as well. Thank you very much. So you've heard about it. A large tubular 2.5 mile underground, 200 feet deep basin is going to replace 3 large, ugly CSO basins that were programmed in for the same cost, more capacity, less disruption to traffic and the community. So I think that's the definition of innovation and efficiency. So we're so proud. I want to thank the MSD staff that have worked on this, Jacob Mathis, Brian Brigham, and Angela, who have worked very hard with our partners to get this design as well. And also I want to thank our MSD board for trusting in us to be able to switch design midstream and to be able to get this project off the ground. So thank you all for being here today. We are now getting ready to transition to actually turn some dirt.